Hey guys, Beer in the Hair here. I just went through a crash course playing through Nioh 1 and Nioh 2 this last month. I had preconceived notions about the series, but after playing them, I fell in love with it. Nioh 2 was released on March of 2020 and is currently my game of the year as of writing this. The sequel to Nioh by Team Ninja makes combat even better, adds a new twist to the yokai and living weapon, and brings a whole slew of new bosses to dive into. This is my ranking of bosses from worst to best. Remember, this ranking is completely subjective. Your list will most likely vary from mine. The criteria I've been working off are boss mechanics, the lore, and the aesthetic of the boss. All the clips captured in this video is from a New Game Plus run, but my rankings are from when I faced them on New Game. These are all the bosses from the main bosses of Nioh 2, not from the side bosses. If you want to watch me live, stop by the channel with the link below. Now, let's just dive right into it, guys. At the bottom of our list is Gyuki. For the next couple spots, you guys might notice something. Team Ninja's animal-type monsters aren't very good. On that note, cue Gyuki. This boss has some annoying targeting problems, and honestly, I wish they made it that the legs weren't even targetable. He can pretty much one-shot you with his water beam, which honestly is very telegraphed, and his swipes hurt a lot. If you stick to his body, you can get the win. This even works on the yokai realm. Since he's pretty easily exploitable, he comes in at the bottom of our list. Number 23, Lady Osakabe. This fight gives me PTSD from the Octo Dragon from the first installment. This is kind of the same fight, but instead there's a main eye that attacks you and can't be targetable. This fight goes over Gyuki mostly because of the lore. On the chase after Tokichiro, we go through this castle with magical paintings giving us an idea that the castle is alive. For the boss itself, Burst Counter will be your best friend. It will decimate the Hariads very quickly. While doing this, you will have to dodge fireballs and lightning beams. Once you take down 4, you do direct damage to the source eyeball, and you just rinse and repeat in the yokai realm, and you'll get past this lady in no time. Coming up at number 22, Daidara Bocchi. This monstrosity is pretty self-explanatory. Destroy the crystals on the hands to bring it down and hit it directly when it's stunned. You do this 3 times and once in the yokai realm. The tricky part of this boss is the fact that he can stun block you with the rocks he smashes, and possibly kill you in one hit if he hits you with his eye beam of death. The music fits well for this battle. It sounds epic and brings the gravitas of what you will be fighting. This does not make it a good fight though, so it takes the bottom third of our list. Number 21, Saika Magoichi. It makes sense that this is a mid-boss before Gyuki. He's almost a carbon copy of the fight that you have in Nioh, with a couple of new mechanics added. His double grab can throw you off, but it feels like it's like a Revenant fight, but with a gun. Saika does have homing fireballs, but the pillars pretty much make it a cakewalk to dodge. He is just a minor speed bump when it comes to the bosses. Number 20, Hachisuka Koroku. One of the most hated types of bosses for me, or enemies, or even revenants, are the cursed Sagama types. For some reason, they always had my number. Again, pretty much a clone of a revenant fight, but with the yokai realm. A mid-boss before Daidara Bocchi, the fight itself is pretty meh. A major way he can do damage to you is by his grab. It can take almost 3/4 of your health and quickly put you on the defensive. Something that Nioh has taught me is to be aggressive. If you stay aggressive on Koroku and get him into your combos, you can melt him pretty quickly. Number 19, Maida Toshi. Like a Spear Revenant, his damage output can be monstrous. He has combos that can take you out if you're not careful, and fire damage that can be problematic. The good thing is that his moves are very telegraphed, and you can get behind him very often for major damage. He can be very aggressive in keeping you on your toes. His charge looks scary, but easy enough to dodge. For the most part, he's a pretty easy fight, and it kind of keeps him below the average. Number 18, Imagawa Yoshimoto. He taught me about the lightning debuff and how annoying it is. Straight up. I fell over and over for his lightning tricks thinking I had an opening. and moving while you're paralyzed is a scary feeling. He has the ability to shoot arrows directly at you or bombard you from the sky. What worked for me was to stick to him like glue while he did his direct arrows for quick damage. When he isn't throwing the full fury of Zeus at you, he brandishes dual swords and a spear, which can be deadly and have the ability to counter. This is the easiest part of the fight, honestly, since you can treat it like a Revenant fight after that. His low stamina lets you take him down quickly and do major damage. One of the main reasons why this boss goes over the other Revenants is because of that damn lightning debuff. Number 17, fighting Tokichiro for the first time. Cue the epic music. I adore this fight. Fighting Tokichiro was a blast. Even though I hate the lightning debuffs in Nioh 2, like the previous boss, him alternating between fire and lightning was a good mix. Before using his living weapon, it's a pretty simple Revenant type of fight. That changes once he uses living weapon. His fire weapon does a lot of damage. It doesn't help the fact that he buffs himself for damage and ki regeneration. He also shoots a conal AoE of fire, which I foolishly always try to burst counter. Never works. When he goes dual swords, he uses lightning and fire at the same time for the living weapon. This is where it gets a little more hectic. He summons puddles around the map of lightning that do damage and give you the debuff. The most opportune moment that I found to hit him is during his fire living weapon. He's a bit slower and getting behind him can be relatively simple. This fight gave me goosebumps. I felt the weight of this fight with the music and fighting Tokichiro, who's been with you this entire time for this entire adventure, and it really felt special to me. Coming in at number 16, William. One of the major complaints that I have with the first Nioh is the main character. William breaks my immersion. I was surprised to see him in this, and was even more surprised to actually fight him. Let me tell you though, it felt cathartic. It was a pretty simple fight for the most part. To make it even easier, you didn't even have to get his HP down to 0%. Around 20% the fight just ends. For number 15, we have Enren-Ra. I don't want to beat around the bush here. Enren-Ra frustrated me. This was a tough fight. I felt like this might have been my first true wall in Nioh 2. I could not figure out his moveset if my leg depended on it. He throws some tornadoes at you and also does some AoEs around him, so you have to keep your distance. His physical moveset was the one giving me the most problems till I finally figured out his pattern. I thought I was doing okay, we got this. Then the yokai realm came into play. Enren-Ra starts it with a tornado doing massive damage to you. This got me 80% of the time. His physical attacks reach much further than before and happen much faster. It's like the fight sped up 5 times in the normal fight. I was a phantom burst counter user, so I felt at a disadvantage for this fight. He turns into a tornado and hurls himself at you, and your timing has to be pretty much impeccable to counter him. I did this back on the burst counter mechanic, and it was so much more simpler. Once you get the rhythm of the fight of his physical attacks, it becomes pretty easy. It's a fun fight that comes in right below the average. Number 14, Saito Yoshitatsu. On the surface, this looks like a Revenant fight. That changes very quickly. Saito has the ability to turn into a brute yokai, and man, is it terrifying. Never thought I would fight this type of boss. With great music to set the tone and Saito being aggressive, this becomes a very, very fun fight. On top of Saito going brute yokai, add the yokai realm. This feels like a fight that is going to be crazy, but it actually isn't too bad. You can bait Saito to long-winded attacks and slowly take them out. Coming up at number 13, Kamaitachi. Usually I give grief when it comes to Team Ninja's animal type bosses. I was pleasantly surprised on how much I enjoyed this fight. Kamaitachi is vicious, aggressive, and ready to cut you down so damn quickly. It can drain your ki very quickly because it's such a fast boss, such a breath of fresh air. This can be a problem in the yokai realm. I was saved immensely by using the barrier talismans, and honestly, one of the best things I've ever invested in for my playthrough. Its HP pool isn't too big, but it makes up for it with its speed. This fight can be frustrating at times, and well-timed dodges can create great windows to do major damage. Coming up at number 12, Mezuki. Initial bosses make or break a game for some players. It is for me. If the first boss is not well designed, people will usually just quit right away. I personally think they nailed this opening boss. Mezuki teaches you everything you need to know for the fighting style in Nioh 2. His moveset is well telegraphed and teaches you the timing to dodge. The burst counter is pretty easy to get the timing on. He shoots projectiles at you and minor blade AoEs. This is the perfect way to introduce new players to Nioh 2. Fitting, I feel, since he gets placed right at the average of the bosses. Number 11, Tokichiro's second encounter. Dude, let's go! Give me that unforgettable theme to Tokichiro and a fight that is super fun. He brings his greatest hits from his previous fight and adds some new tricks. His counter being able to be turned into a grab for almost your whole health. Once he gets into the yokai realm, he gets some hyper armor. This is a delicate dance between getting comboed for your entire health or getting some hits in and dodging to get the hell out of there. He again brings his lightning to the mix, so paralyzed can be a problem. Find the right openings and make sure not to be greedy here, and you will best Tokichiro. Here we go, top 10. Coming up at number 10, Yatsu-no-Kami. So I'm going to be completely honest here. The first time I fought Yatsu, I didn't destroy any of the statues, so I fought him in the pool of poison. I did this for a while until I noticed destroying the statue started draining the poison. It makes the fight so much easier, but this fight really does actually test you. This was another wall for me. I had to bait the snake attack to keep my distance and try to destroy each one, because when the yokai realm starts, the snakes come out to play. Added with Yatsu, this can cause major problems. Sure, the smaller snakes have a limited moveset, but having them there is a nuisance that can be irritating. That being said, the design is great. It introduced something new from the previous bosses. There's minor gank mechanics that is not overwhelming, but enough to give you a challenge. It is a fight that keeps you on your toes and taught me a lot about this game. Very deserving to be in the top 10. At number 9, Tatarimokke. Out of all the animal type bosses from Team Ninja, this is the best one. The mechanics are great. The moves are pretty well telegraphed, but it shows how well a fight can be made. Usually when you see an animal boss, the plan is to stick to its butt, right? Well, Tatarimokke has a move for that. It's like a 360 whirlwind attack with its wings. It also has a cyclops laser that he shoots from one of his eyes. The fact that they added a mechanic that you see earlier in the level is pretty awesome. Once the yokai realm begins, a red orb comes out and it's best just to beeline towards it and take it out as fast as you can, while dealing with the same mechanics but just coming at you a little bit faster. Once you do take it out, the yokai realm ends right away and the boss gets stunned for some easy hits. It's rinse and repeat after that, but it really got my blood pumping looking for the red ball while dodging its hits. Easily one of the best animal boss types in Nioh 2. Kashin Koji. I was so ready for this fight. I felt the same way when I fought Kelly in Nioh. This guy is better in every aspect. His melee moveset can be devastating if he gets it off on you. With minor projectiles, he is pretty manageable. Once I beat him, I got really excited and was just celebrating with my chat. I noticed that the HP bar didn't go away. Something wasn't right. Felt a little fishy. Then he got back up and got all of his HP back, changed to the yokai realm, and became 5 times more aggressive. On top of that, he split into multiple versions of himself that do different moves. This is like the ultimate ad phase for a boss fight. Sure, you only have to hit the clones once to kill them, and the HP pool for the main boss is not very big, but the fight becomes crazy and juggling it all can become very overwhelming. So for number 7, it's Otake-maru. This is a very enjoyable fight. I think for a last boss, Team Ninja nailed it. Starting off by fighting the yokais that you could start with is great. Similar moveset, so it's not too bad. The real fight actually doesn't begin until you get to about 50%. Otakamaru transforms and has one sword, but can change into 3 different elements. He can change through fire, water, and lightning, each one having its own moveset. By far the worst, you might have guessed it already, yep, it's lightning. He does an AoE around him to make you back off, but if you don't go fast enough, you will 100% be paralyzed or even die from it. He does have this major spear move around the end of the fight and will kill you no matter what. This fight will test you. You will have to have your dodges on point and hope that greed won't kill you. Find your windows between his attacks and make sure you are on your toes. His attacks can be devastating. I think Team Ninja nailed it for being a final fight. For number 6, we got Kasha. Let's take a second and just take in the design of this boss. Probably one of the best designed bosses in Nioh 2. Flaming Cat Chariot Lady. This is what I call her. This fight is awesome. Fire damage can be a problem in this fight since everything she does is fire-based, so knowing when to get out will save your life. Her charge can be repeated damage to drain your HP very quickly. On top of that, she can Beyblade one of her wheels at you. Best way to get around this is by dodging and getting to her sides or back for quick hits. She will also summon Gakis, and I stand by this. Gakis might be the most annoying monsters in Nioh 2, and having them in the fray makes the fight even more annoying. It makes it even harder. Yokai Round gives her the blue fire, which can make things a little harder, but the moveset doesn't change for the most part. This fight's got great music, great design, great mechanics, just missing out on that top 5. Here we are, top 5. Coming up at number 5, Ryomen Sukuna. I remember fighting Ryomen Sukuna in the demo for this game. I had 0 experience in this franchise. Honestly, I wasn't feeling it. I didn't enjoy it at all. Now playing the first Nioh and finally coming back to this boss, I enjoyed this boss so damn much. Having that duality with fire and water is a great mechanic. The fire side doing a lot of physical damage and can take chunks out of your HP, while the water side is pretty much an aimbot with its arrows. I'm just gonna say it straight up. For the most part, it's well balanced, minus the aimbot thing. They can combine moves as well, but that can be easily dodged by just running away. It takes you out of your comfort zone with both the fire and the water stances Ryomen has. The fire side is pretty telegraphed, whereas the water side is much more sporadic with its moveset. The aesthetic of this boss is pretty amazing, and I loved how they looked. They looked distinct enough from each other, and I really fell in love with this fight. Number 4, Shuten Doji. The drunken master right here. This guy brings the DPS. His hits are brutal. If you get caught in one of his combos, you will die. The combo is pretty well telegraphed, so dodging it isn't that big of an issue. I absolutely love the aesthetic of this boss. Him taking a swig of Amrita, I want to say. I'm not 100% sure. You can let me know in the comments if that's the case. When the yokai realm takes over, he really goes off the deep end on being drunk. His movement becomes sporadic with his normal moveset, making the timing a little tricky, and a fun touch that he collapses on the ground after his combo is done from being too drunk. It gives you some extra hits, but don't be too greedy because he does a roundabout attack shortly after that can take a big chunk of your HP. I love this fight. On how Shuten looks, the mechanics and the lore of Tokichiro summoning to fight you, this is worthy of the number 4 spot. Number 3, Magara Naotaka. I absolutely adore this fight. The aesthetic is on point. One-handed Adachi user that has an ice property. Sign me up. The music on this fight is really good and it sets the tone for it perfectly. He's got this vicious physical moveset with a conal AoE to top it off. His grab almost takes half of the room, which at some points can be a little BS on the tracking. But the entire fight makes you kind of forget about that and how good and high quality it is. In the yokai realm, his attacks start getting an ice effect, which is a good touch. I was on edge this entire fight and it made it so exciting. Never did I feel like he was being unfair. Worthy of the top 3. Coming up at number 2, Azai Nagamasa. Nioh 2's one-winged angel right here, and honestly, almost as badass. The music to this fight is just, chef's kiss. When it starts to swell up, it feels epic, worthy of this boss. The pacing of this fight is really well done. You can't just go all hard on him, because he'll just counter you and force you to reset. He has a big HP pool, and his attacks hurt. Getting in the middle of his combo will either kill you or take at least 3/4 of your HP. I haven't even talked about the yokai realm. His moveset completely changes, and when I first fought him, it felt like the fight was going at 1,000,000 times faster. How am I supposed to keep up with this guy? He's super aggressive, he sticks to you like glue. After dying about 5 or 6 times, it finally started to click with me, and the fight started to slow down in my head. And he has a weakness that you can exploit fairly well. The burst counter. You can destroy his ki very quickly with the burst counter. He's the full package, but there's one boss that outdoes Azai. The best boss in Nioh 2, in my opinion, Shibata Katsuie. What can I say about Shibata Katsuie? This is my favorite fight in all of Nioh 2. God, the music when this fight starts gives me chills. Seeing this menacing board-type boss with that soundtrack, just thinking about it gives me goosebumps. His arena is smaller than the usual bosses, making this a very intimate fight. But I think that's by design. I think Team Ninja knew what they were doing here. Fight this guy face to face, whose DPS is crazy high, and that grab that might even kill you if you're below 75% health. When he goes into the yokai realm, the fight goes off the rails. He kicks it into high gear, bouncing off the walls, charging like a boar. It is terrifying. He throws caution to the wind and goes all out on you. On top of his charge, he leaves fire puddles that can hurt you slowly. If he gets you into a corner, it might as well be GG's at that point. I feel like a broken record at this point, but find your openings, don't be greedy. I really don't have a single complaint about this boss. Apparently he was nerfed when Nioh 2 came out, and fighting him for the first time, it really didn't feel like it, if I have to be completely honest. It is one of the first bosses I beat and cheered and ran around my apartment. My body was shaking. It's like that feeling you get when you finally take down a boss, worthy of being the best boss in Nioh 2. The Nioh franchise has changed how I look at Soulsborne games. I don't even categorize this franchise as a Soulsborne. I think it's its own genre, really. The boss quality in this game is top tier. Team Ninja nailed it. Enough to say that Team Ninja rivals From Software when it comes to boss design. I hope you guys enjoyed my list, and let me know what your guys' top 5 would be. Is it different? I really want to know, and I would love to see how you guys feel. Let me know in the comments below. I appreciate you guys. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time.